Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to explore one of the absolute most profound historical and divine accounts ever recorded. We're talking about a narrative that totally bridges the gap between ancient antiquity and deep, unshakable spiritual endurance. It's a story set against this sweeping backdrop of towering cliffs, radically shifting empires, and honestly, an unbelievable passage of time. So settle in, because we're going to unpack the massive, historical, and miraculous layers of this incredible event. Just imagine it for a second. 7 young men vanished, yet awoke centuries beyond their own age. That is the core mystery we're diving into today. We're looking at a group of youths who literally stepped completely out of the flow of normal human time. They were seeking refuge from a highly dangerous, oppressive world, and they fell into this deep slumber under gathering storm clouds in the rugged mountains, right? Only to open their eyes to a reality completely detached from the era they actually knew. Part 1, The Tyrant's Ancient City. Now, to really grasp the sheer magnitude of their story, we have to look at the massive socio-political shift that frames the whole thing. Look at the world they left behind, this intimidating ancient city completely dominated by heavy Roman influence, towering statues, and a strictly enforced state religion where a ruthless tyrant king demanded absolute worship. But fast forward to the future they would eventually wake up to? It's like night and day. Over the centuries, that iron-fisted, pagan political structure completely collapsed. It was replaced by new architecture, totally new governance, and a society that actually embraced the exact faith those young men originally had to hide. But, back in their own time, making that kind of cultural shift seem possible? No way. The crime of these young men was incredibly simple, but in a tyrannical society, it was a total death sentence. They believed in one God. Standing completely apart from the torchlit temples and the crowds bowing down before giant idols in the city square, they had this quiet, unshakable courage. They declared, "Our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and earth." In an era of mandatory idol worship, this wasn't just a spiritual choice, it was an act of supreme political defiance. Part 2, Fleeing for Faith. Unsurprisingly, the state could no longer tolerate their defiance. With torch-bearing soldiers actively marching through the narrow, ancient streets at night searching for dissenters, the pressure was absolute. So, gathered secretly inside a stone chamber, these young men made a choice that changed everything. They willingly abandoned their societal status, their wealth, their safety, the whole shebang. Slipping through the massive city gates just before sunrise, they traded the predictability of their lives for the dangerous unknown, simply stating, "We seek only Allah's mercy and guidance." And their journey into that unknown? Incredibly tense. First, you have the threat, openly defying the absolute order of the tyrant king. Then comes the escape. They literally left behind the wealth of that Roman-influenced city for steep, dusty, rocky trails in the wilderness, constantly looking over their shoulders for marching soldiers. And finally, they found refuge. High up in the towering cliffs, battling heavy winds and treacherous paths, they discovered a hidden mountain cave. It's so easy to imagine the sheer fear and exhaustion they must have felt climbing those steep cliffs, right? But the leader of the youths stepped up. He offered these reassuring, confident words to his friends. "Trust Allah. He will open a path for us." Think about that. Even while navigating rugged mountains and fleeing the grasp of a massive, powerful empire, their focus remained entirely on divine guidance rather than their immediate physical danger. Part 3, 309 Years of Slumber. Inside that dark, hidden cave, history itself was basically about to be rewritten. The young men settled inside, the dark stone beautifully lit by these heavenly rays of sunlight piercing through the entrance, with their faithful dog resting peacefully at the mouth of the cave. Just before total exhaustion overtook them, they gathered together for one final reverent prayer. They asked, "Our Lord, grant us mercy from yourself." And little did they know, the divine answer to this plea for protection would come in the form of a slumber stretching way, way beyond human imagination. 309 years. That is a staggering amount of time. While they slept peacefully, bathed in that soft divine light, the world outside was experiencing massive, violent, and rapid transformations. Outside their cave, seasons cycled relentlessly. Entire human eras came and went. That iron-fisted pagan empire that hunted them, it eventually crumbled into dust, completely gone. New empires rose from the ashes, bringing entirely new laws, cultures, and religious structures to the very city they had just fled. Part 4, A Transformed Society. So they opened their eyes, stretching in the dust of the cave. completely unaware that multiple centuries of history had just passed them by. You can clearly see their profound bewilderment in this exchange. One of them asks, "How long have we remained here?" And another companion, just looking around the totally unchanged interior of the cave, replies with absolute innocence, "Perhaps a day, or part of a day." It's a fascinating psychological moment. Their internal clocks were completely decoupled from the reality of the universe.
Because they genuinely believe only a single day has passed. They still think they're active fugitives. So the leader formulates a highly cautious plan to keep them alive. Take the silver coins they brought with them, send one person down the mountain to enter the city, buy food quietly, and just blend in. They are absolutely terrified of being discovered by the king's patrols. And the suspense here is incredible, right? Because we know something they don't.
Part 5. The Ancient Coin.
So the young man descends from the rugged cliffs, sneaking toward the city gates, constantly looking out for patrols. But as he approaches, everything is wrong. The massive statues? Gone. The Roman-influenced temples? Missing. The architecture is entirely unfamiliar. He nervously approaches a merchant to buy food and hands over his silver. The merchant just freezes. He examines the currency, utterly shocked, and asks, "Where did you obtain these ancient coins?" I mean, imagine trying to buy groceries today with a coin from George Washington's era. Instantly, whispers ripple through the marketplace, and a huge crowd begins to gather around this mysterious time traveler.
Part 6. A Sign for All Generations. The secret was definitely out, but the young man wasn't arrested. Instead, he found a city populated entirely by believers. That oppressive pagan empire he had fled, it no longer existed. The miraculous discovery of these youths who slept for 309 years became an undeniable, monumental proof of divine power for this new society. This entire account leaves us with such a powerful reflection. We've seen how massive ancient empires, with all their terrifying political power and social dominance, eventually just crumble into dust. So I'll leave you with this question. As kings fall and entire societies transform over the centuries, what truly endures? The story of the companions of the cave suggests that while political power is incredibly fleeting, true faith is timeless. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring the incredible depths of this narrative.